Yay, so this is the part I'm really excited about. So thank you all too as well for being here today. We're so excited to speak with you about your experiences and being entrepreneurs. So I guess the first question I have for you really is, what made you want to become an entrepreneur? Anyone chime in?
I have really hard time following direction, and I like a little bit of freedom. My parents are in the crowd; they can probably attest to that. And but I think what really drew me to it is a freedom to really just express my ideals and what I would like to see the change be, and that really encompasses really what a millennial would like to be. But at the same time, I want to be able to provide for other people an opportunity to achieve their own goals as well.
I'm going to follow Joe because I had the same problem. I don't take direction well at all. Got kicked out of corporate life for that, but it's okay. And I wanted to become an entrepreneur because that's what I was exposed to. I always tell my father, you raised me in an entrepreneurial household. How did you expect me to succeed in corporate? So here I am. I was surrounded by entrepreneurs my whole life. I love the ability to take something, create something, and have control of the dynamic and run with it. And to shift the focus of the company, to change as the times come. It's so fun for me.
Hi, everybody. I chose to become an entrepreneur. I probably grew into it. I have a family of entrepreneurs. I grew into family businesses, and I have a passion for planting a seed and watching it grow. And I like trusting in people and watching something sprout. I love what I do, and I just can't see myself working for others. So I like to be the leader, and that's why I chose to become an entrepreneur.
I became an entrepreneur out of necessity. I think I make the world's best pastries and cookies, so I needed to share that with other people. But also because I wanted to make an impact. In my career previously as a social worker, I was tired of just putting small Band-Aids on problems for people, so I thought, I'm gonna open a bakery, make millions of dollars, and help change the world. Little did I know that doesn't happen just like that, but that's ultimately my goal, is to help make a bigger impact in my community and the world.
That's awesome. So going forward, as you identify that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, how did you initially get started? Because I think that's a lot. There's probably some individuals who are millennials or even just not of the millennial generation who want to necessarily go into entrepreneurship eventually. How did you get started with doing that?
So it's funny, we were talking about like business plans, and they can tell you how they did theirs. I wrote my business plan after I started my business because I was like, okay, I saw the opportunity to open shop here. It was a turnkey bakery, and I did a few like MVP, like minimum viable products, just like pop-ups, like to see if there was an interest in the market, if people actually liked my stuff as much as I liked them, and they did. So I opened the bakery, and then I was like, okay, we need to look at this deeper. And then I wrote my business plan, and it's been a year of learning for me.
Joe?
So, getting into a multi-generational business, you come into a little bit differently. My parents had established a strong business, and they had a very loyal clientele. And the way that I came into it is I looked at an opportunity that we had to increase our retail side of our business. So my parents had this solid service that we still provide today, and we've been able to grow. But we've also added onto our retail side, where we've added appliance sales, we've mattress sales, we've got grill sales. You can now purchase through our website, and all these things. A lot of it has grown organically, but at the same time, it was almost like we found ourselves in a place where we were like fire, aim, shoot, and so like it was just. It was a lot of back and forth and a lot of trial and error, but that's what it is. Nothing is set in stone when you're an entrepreneur. You can have a solid plan, or what you think is a solid plan, but as you get into it, you're going to start feeling it. You get a vibe for where your customers and clients are at, that you see where you need to take your business in order to get to that next level.
Courtney?
Well, as I mentioned, my father was an entrepreneur, and at a young age, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And he told me that the things he wished he had known was he had wished he had gotten an MBA, and he had wished that he was a banker. So I became a banker. I was an international lender down in Mexico, and I learned how companies got money. how they operated, how you got approved, how you could fund a business, and how you had to specify the use of the cash once you got the cash. That was a huge piece of learning for me. In our industry, I have to pay my employees every single week, and my customers pay me between 15 days if I'm lucky, 30 days, 60, 90 days if I'm chasing them, honestly. And so to understand cash flow was huge. I also got my MBA, and as we were talking at the table, I started writing my business plan about 6 months before we launched, because it is a cash-intensive business, so I had to understand what we were going to do, and then we launched in 2011.
All right. Well, after college, I graduated with a business degree, and I said to myself, what did I really learn? What did I gain from college? College taught me to plan, set goals for myself, and whatever I decide to do in the future, just make sure I'm passionate and I love what I do. And I said, what do I really love to do? I love food and I love people. So that's basically what got me into starting my own fast casual restaurant.
That's awesome. And as you all have been in the journey of your companies, before we go into more of a kind of deeper question about what you've learned and experiences, what have been the most fulfilling for you experiences or things that you're most proud of with your companies? And Brandon, do you want to start?
I'm mostly proud of trusting in other people to see my vision and implement my vision. I believe that having a strong training program is what led to me building leaders and unleashing the leaders. And I feel that that's something that I've accomplished. I have a niche for, and that's trusting in people and knowing when to let go of the leash and let somebody have an opportunity.
For me, it was two things. It was reaching year 5 was a huge hurdle for me because I know a lot of businesses fail before year 5, and so that was super exciting for us. And the second was that I have staff still with me since 2012 that we've grown into executive leadership positions at the company. And we have staff that is coming along behind them to grow into those next management roles. And to me, that just speaks to the accomplishment of the organization, and we've become a team.
I think for me, as we've grown and multiplied our staff and our footprint within the community, that we've been able to maintain this level of, or I should say responsibility, of not only fixing an appliance for a customer or fixing a problem, but we actually help fix the customer themselves, because what we're doing is we're solving a problem and being able to bring something that's going to bring joy into someone's life and into their home and get them cooking again, or being able to do laundry again. Those types of things, they mean a lot to people, and being able to continue on that tradition has been a huge success for me.
For me, I'm most proud that people have established the level of trust they have with us to make their wedding cakes already. In less than a year of business, we've done 15 weddings. So just having that opportunity to serve people on like one of the happiest days of their lives is so exciting. And I'm also proud that we won the best of the Livonia Spree, the Taste of the Spree. So that was pretty cool. We got a trophy in the shop.
So much fun. So even with the great experiences, though, we also know that entrepreneurship can be quite challenging at times, especially when you're kind of just going deep dive in, and then you're like, whoa, right? Those times too. What have you all found to be like truths that you've garnered from dealing with challenges? Like, how do you go about navigating those? What advice would you give to individuals in the audience who maybe just need to be aware of what comes with being an entrepreneur?
Okay. Facing challenges, you're going to think that all is lost, but at the end, there's a way out of the tunnel. And just never give up, and learning from my mistakes is what really helped me carry on my business. And you're going to face problems and challenges, and it's all about how you carry yourself, and you don't let anything bring you down or anyone bring you down.
Being an entrepreneur, you can sometimes end up on an island by yourself. And I think it's very important that you have other friends that are entrepreneurs that you can have open dialogue with. So that when you're having that major challenge, you have somebody who understands that you either have the company at the line, or, in our case, I have 26 roughly employees. I have 26 families on the line if I make a bad decision. It's all on me. I'm responsible for the paycheck that pays for that family to eat dinner, to go to the park, to pay for school, whatever it is. So when you're in those moments, you know, you have to have prior planning, plan A through Z, A1 through Z1, and then make up some other letters because you're going to still need plans beyond that. So it's always having a back pocket plan, and it's always remembering this is the worst that you're in, calm down and keep going. And you can get through it.
Yeah, I think that is, just to kind of play off of what they're saying, that is the biggest thing. Is there are going to be times where you certainly doubt yourself. You doubt your ability. You doubt that anything is, that you're going to get enough revenue coming in order to make that next payment. You're going to have times where you're going to be laying awake in bed wondering, why the heck did I put myself in this place? How do I get out of here? But the key is getting up that next day, doing what you always do, doing it to the best of your ability, encouraging those around you, and putting on a face of confidence that shows your team that you are there and you are committed, and you're going to see them through that, whether they know it's happening or not. Because, as Courtney was saying, I've got 35 families that are counting on me to make sure that we get to that next step.
I think for me, learning that it's definitely a marathon and not a sprint. So just to keep going as best as I can, but also to pace myself so you don't burn out like right away. And also to not take things personally. Things just happen. Some people are just unhappy and are not going to like the world's best cookie, and that's okay. And that I don't need to internalize that, and it's not a reflection of me.
So even with all this pressure of everything, do you ever feel as you're going through with the business that you are belittled at all, or that you're made to feel just because of your age, being a millennial, that people don't necessarily take you seriously, or that they treat you differently? And if so, how do you handle that?
Well, the good news is I have like a really awesome phone voice, and because I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, I can turn the dad voice on sometimes, and they don't realize I'm a millennial. And then once they come into the store and they see who I am, they're like, "No, you're not the guy I was talking to, is it?" Like, yeah, that's me. That's me. But you know, it's I actually forget the question at this point, and I was going to be super clever, but I cut the balloon. It's gone.
You kind of answered it. But yeah, I mean, how do you usually go back to them with how you would respond to that?
How would I respond to it? Mm-hmm. So it starts with listening and being that ear that they can vent frustrations. If there is someone that's doesn't enjoy the world's best cookie, just hear them out and, you know, do whatever you can to heap hot coals of kindness on top of them to the best of your ability. There's times where sometimes I do probably more than is necessary, but it's because it's my name attached to the building. It's my name attached to the business, and it's a legacy from my grandfather. And so it's super important that they realize that my integrity's on the line if something is said negatively about our business.
I have a baby face, so for many, many, many years, people have always thought I'm young. And I took somebody once who was 8 years younger than me on an appointment to a customer, and they kept talking to him like he was my boss. I just let it go. Because at the end of the day, all that matters is that we execute, and that I show them that we can do it. And it doesn't matter how old you think I am, it doesn't matter who you think is the boss. We're going to execute, we're going to show you that we can do this, and you're going to keep bringing us back. And that's all that really matters. And I tell that to my staff, don't get caught up on if they like you or don't like you. If they don't like you, sub somebody else out, get the business. That's what's important.
If I ever felt belittled, I don't really let anything get to me. I just go back and say, what's the core focus of my company? What do I preach to my team members? And my core focus is to make people feel welcome in my restaurants, whether it's with food or our customer service and hospitality skills. I just maintain focus, and I keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm just going with it. And if I can't grow, then I'm probably going to lose a lot of employees, and growth matters to me, and I don't let anything anyone says really affect the future of my company.
for me, a lot of people have like, oh, you own a bakery, that's cute. Or like, who's like the backer, like I'm like, that's me. Like, I cashed out my 401k. This is like my financial risk. This is my business. But ultimately, it's like just continuing to grow, like striving to continue to be the best is how you silence that noise.
Great. Before we go into, I'm kind of going like a little popcorn with each of you with individual questions. I just have a question for you regarding like your daily routine and like how you balance. I don't necessarily want to say the word balance, but how you manage different things with personal life and with the business. How do you all do that? Or what tips do you have?
So for me, like cutting the line at 3 o'clock, like I leave the bakery at 3 o'clock every day so I can pick up Hannah. That's like one boundary that I'm strict on because I have to pick her up from school. If it means I have to come back and bake through the night like I did last night, that's fine. But as long as I leave like at 3 and have at least a few hours with her, make dinner, have some normalcy, so that she doesn't feel the effects of like, oh, my mom decided to be an entrepreneur and then I got left at school or something.
Family time for me is super important too, and like growing up, both my parents were working in the business, so we spent a lot of time as kids just at the store, and so that's a natural thing for me. But you know, with my family, it's been great because I've had the flexibility and the ability to drop my kids off at school or be home for dinner and those types of things, and not having to work every single weekend. Just one of the benefits of really being in a more established business. But there are times where I work into the night. I also wake up at 4:30 in the morning and clear through my emails as quickly as possible before you know, the Kraken is unleashed and my children want breakfast, those types of things. And then into the evening as well, after everybody goes to bed, you know, sometimes I'll hop on there, finish up a bid proposal or something along those lines in order to make sure that I'm meeting deadlines that are set upon me. So, but you're right, setting those healthy boundaries to make sure that everyone around you still feels loved and that you're able to take care of business as well.
That's great.
So I've told my staff too, you can do your work anywhere for the most part. There are a couple people that have to be in the office, but the rest of us are fortunate enough that you work where you need to work, you know what you need to get done. So if I end up working from a restaurant, if I end up working from the parking lot next to Brugger's, borrowing their Wi-Fi for a little bit, that's what you do. My rule is that I am home every day, at least for a meal with my kids. So if that's breakfast today and it's lunch tomorrow and it's dinner on Friday, at least every single day I am there for a meal with them. And my husband too, mostly.
Well, being a millennial and maintaining a work-life balance and owning and operating your own restaurant is kind of like work now, life later. So and trying to just maintain for my team members to actually have a work-life balance, but I'm all work right now.
I understand that, yes. So going into more about like managing millennials, and I know all of you can chime in on this, but I particularly want to talk to Courtney about it. What's it like managing millennials? What have you learned from that, being a millennial, and insights that you've gained?
Well, I think I want to talk to that quickly. I think there's one mistake of managing a whole generation the same way. I think it's really important to look at the individual and see what's motivating them. And you have to figure out what's motivating them today, and it might not be the same thing in 2 years. Especially when you look at the millennials now, everyone's in that age bracket where they could be single, they could be married, they could be having children, they could be having children getting into high school if they had them young, honestly. So you really have to figure out what's important. Is it title, is it money, is it flexibility, or is it all three? So you have to do that. And then the secondary part is to form a community. I was laughing when you were showing your message space, right? And we did. We launched a channel I think 2 or 3 years ago now, and everyone fought me on it. And now it's one of the most popular ways to communicate. And we cut down email, my gosh, 56%, I believe. It was incredible. And it's called Slack. And it's got 1 million channels, and they've got like 4 fun channels and like 12 work channels. But it really speeds up communication, and it creates a community so that our people in Louisville and our people in Grand Rapids and in Lansing can joke with our people in Livonia and Madison Heights, and they're all in on the same inside jokes, and it's great.
Amanda, do you want to say, or Brandon or any other, or Joe, want to chime in on just dealing with managing millennials, being a millennial?
So being a millennial, and actually my entire leadership crew are all millennials. And one thing I know about managing millennials is they have to have a structure, and you have to give them opportunities to grow. If they don't see a future opportunity within whatever they're trying to do, they're going to lose track, lose focus, and maintaining a strong culture and keeping them informed and having great communication skills is what millennials need.
Yeah, we're the same. So like bringing everyone on as a partner, like every voice matters, and I truly bring my employees on as my partner because they're there with me every day. So valuing their ideas and suggestions.
That's awesome. I know in previous conversations between Brandon and Amanda, we were talking about how you all were able to really put different aspects of your culture within your business. Can you talk to us about that and how that was important to you in doing so?
Well, I think for me, the biggest way my culture influences my business is like bringing the flavors that I grew up with, the things that make me feel nostalgic and cozy and remind me of grandma, bringing those flavors into our food. And that's the greatest way I can like share with our community and bring you into my family too, is through the food. Food's the ultimate like love language for me, and giving you a piece of my family and our history, but also just like the hard work, working hard, like making an honest living, supporting the people that support you, these values as well.
I fully agree with what Amanda said, and my company is also, I grew up on the food I'm serving right now, and my company, we're a flavor-driven, fast casual Mediterranean restaurant group, and we're all about bringing what my family grew up on, other parts of the Middle Eastern culture, trying to put it all into our restaurants, and transforming it, being able to serve to the typical American consumer.
Great. Now I want to pick on Joe. So being from within a business that is multi-generational, how has it been for you to like adapt to different changes with technology and also incorporating that? I know your parents are in the audience, so yes.
Yeah, so
Take it away.
growing up in a multi-generational business, like I said, from a young age I was in the business, so almost every aspect of the business I have participated in, from sweeping floors to installing appliances, servicing, selling, managing, marketing, all of it. But as we've grown, you know, has necessitated adding new technology to the store. You know, when we first started, we had Nextels, and I remember that was a big deal, being able to chirp our technicians out on the road. But now, not only that, but our technicians have cell phones and wireless hotspots and tablets. You know, we can run the entire store paperless if we really, really, really wanted to. It's super hard. But we've had to make significant investments in that, and that's you know, a big change as well. So we adapted with technology? We definitely have. We use as many tools available to us as we can, so we can get out there and make the job easier and quicker. Although sometimes it seems as though it's more frustrating as a result of additional technology, because there are some things that are just better done the old school way. You know, put your hand on it, and if it feels a certain way, that's probably the answer, type of thing. But there has been multiple discussions between my parents and I about how things should be ran, and sometimes those last longer than others. Some are louder than others, and then some are just so quiet you just wish someone would say something, type of conversation. But all in all, at the end of the day, you know, we still have those conversations, and if we don't solve it, then we talk about it again, and then we talk about it again, and then we do come together and make a change, usually for the better.
That's great. You know, and seeing entrepreneurship develop within your family and it continuing to grow, and how have you been able to understand how to become really like learning different things about becoming an entrepreneur? What have insights that you've garnered from seeing previous generations in that?
Yeah. So, you know, just really what we've been able to see is that as long as we are putting forth the effort, there is going to be fruit. It may not always be the fruit that we're expecting. It might not be as big of a harvest as we're expecting, because there are lean times. There are times of plenty. But if you weather the storm and you stick with it, you're going to make it through. And being that this is our 56th year in business, we've seen a lot of these cycles. And it's one of those things where if you can plan for it, you can make changes necessary in order to weather that before it becomes too much of a problem in the storm.
That's great. And also for all of you, what do you think that what you've known now that you wish you would have known when you started your company, that you think maybe millennials or even other generations might get wrong or not be aware of when it comes to entrepreneurship?
No matter where you are in the growth cycle or the stage of your company, you always worry. You always worry about what's coming, and there is something to be said about the bigger the company, the bigger the problems.
I think that it's not like as ideal and beautiful as like Gary Vee says on Instagram. And that like the day-to-day can be lonely, and that you just have to figure it out, and it's not always like so picturesque and beautiful as the pastries you produce.
Never assume, but try your best to anticipate.
That's great.
I think Amanda's right. It is not, we're not jumping on jets and headed off to Tahiti while someone else runs our business for us and we're making money out of thin air. It is hard work. It is attention to detail, and it is planning that really creates success. And a lot of it has to do with how bad you want to make it work.
That's great. Thank you all so much. I was going to just end it with any other things that you would like to say and also open it up to the audience. I know I'm going to be mindful of time, but if there's anything else that you would like to add that I haven't asked you all today that you think people should be aware of.
Knowledge is power, and there's a lot of podcasts in every industry of people that have gone through a certain experience that you can really gain a lot of knowledge kind of subscribing to newer podcasts in the industry you want to be in. I mean, being a millennial and listening to what all these people that are 20 years ahead of me have experienced and have done, it kind of inspires me a little bit.
That support group is super important because, like Courtney said, it sometimes you feel like you are on an island, that no one fully understands where you're at. But if you don't have that support group or a community that you can lean on in those times of extreme stress or extreme loneliness or any of those things, you are going to collapse and it's going to burn you out. And that's when you show up and pour gasoline down the plumbing and light it on fire. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that.
That there are so many opportunities for young entrepreneurs. There are so many like specific groups. I recently joined Food Lab Detroit, so learning about like running a triple bottom line business, and podcasts are great, ebooks, listening to all the ones that are like were written in the 80s now, because I'm like there's so much wealth of knowledge at our fingertips.
You know, so there's a couple of questions for you all. What do you do when you're looking for, like, what methods do you use to look for different employees that you have, like social media or Indeed? Like, what do you all use to find your employees?
I'm going to call her.
You guys can't have my secret sauce. Pay for it. No. We use referrals. That's the number one way. You know, if we can get a referral from an existing employee for somebody internal, it means that they understand our culture already. So that's a big piece. And I would recommend that for your own organizations. That's a staffing company telling you that. But if you can't, then call us and we'll help. And we'll use one of our referrals to you. But it is also social media. It's having a presence on social media. So even if you can't get that referral, you've got that presence going so people can understand who you are and what you're trying to become. We have about 3,000 likes, I think, on Facebook right now. We have a Twitter presence, a LinkedIn presence. We're on all of the job boards, but it's also getting out into the organizations and meeting people. You know, I have some representatives here today because we may be selling, we may also just be meeting our next person who's going to work internally. I hired somebody last October that I met at a networking event 15 months prior. And we just met, we talked, we had coffee, and I said, I don't know what you're doing next, but I think you should come work for us. And now she does. Megan. They wanted to know.
Joe, did you want to say something? Or you look like
We just contracted with Courtney to find some people, but we've done all kinds of things. We put on Craigslist, now hiring all positions, and just the amount of stuff that comes in, it's overwhelming sometimes as to what comes in and what questions to ask. And then sometimes you schedule, this is a for real thing, I scheduled 12 interviews for the same day with 3 people at the same time, and nobody showed up. Not a single person showed up. And these are real jobs.
And that's normal. The amount of recruiting effort that we go through now to get people to not ghost us is incredible. So you're not alone, Joe.
So the most creative way I've recruited people is just literally sliding in the DM, like, hey, I love your pastry work. We're hiring. You should apply. And it's worked, so.
These are so many great questions. We only have time for one more, though. So I want to ask you all, what was the scariest decision that you had to make, and how did you work your way through doing that?
I had to walk away from a customer that provided 25% of our revenue several years ago. And they ethically and morally were not on the same page as us. And to the point where when we were walking away, I felt like they were lying to me every day. But that was a huge hit for our business, and I had to make sure we were ready to navigate, because I had at that time 20 employees. And we made the turn, and we all buckled down, and I think every single person at my company made sales calls for 2 weeks to get more business. But we came together as a team. So I think it's when you're making that decision, bringing the team in so that they know we're about to go through a bumpy ride, but we can do it. But we got to do this together.
For me, it was my first fire. I was just like, this is not like working out. I need to let this person go. Without I had to terminate. No, not an actual like kitchen fire. Okay, I should use different. I had to let my first employee go. Yeah, no, that's fine. Without having someone else lined up, which meant for me, like kind of selfishly, I was like, oh, that means I have to like really like bake a second bake in the night. But it wasn't a good culture fit, and it was just like really scary for me to like confront this person and say like, you gotta go.
Brandon?
The scariest move for me was deciding if I wanted to expand from being a single unit restaurant owner to growing my operations. And because of the team that I had behind me, after 6 years, we decided to expand, and I'm currently at 9 restaurants and growing. So it was definitely a scary decision. It was definitely a roller coaster of a ride, and it's been pretty fun.
About 6 years ago, we decided to move from the place my parents have had the store for 35 years, and we moved from a 3,000 square foot facility to an 18,000 square foot facility, and that was a big leap of faith. It was a scary jump. We were in a recession, and we didn't know for sure if it was going to be a great option. It was a good time to get into that building because it wasn't very expensive, but we had to move product in order to do it, and luckily, the city of Livonia is so great, and the support from the community was so awesome that all the fear that we had moving into there soon dissipated when, on our opening day, our showroom was just packed with people, and the support from the community has always just been great, and that's what's really dissipated a lot of our fears with making changes.
So great. Well, thank you all so much for being here today. It was really a pleasure. And congratulations, too, on all of your success with everything. It's awesome.